You will jump to the top of the queue tonight if you are A and 1, a stripper, B and 2, an ex-stripper, C and 3, you've owned, run, managed or worked at a strip club, D and 4, you are, I'm going to put this, a strip club regular? I don't know. I know. I mean, that's, you'll be treated with great respect, but if you're D and 4, you might be lower down the list than the others. This plays into everything that we have discussed over the last few days about attitudes towards women and girls, an attitude that leads to women and girls being assaulted on an all too regular basis or harassed on an all too regular basis in this country. An attitude which has led the Mayor of London to say London streets are not safe for women and girls. And I'm aware that this hour could get a bit lads. But I'm very interested to hear on who you thought was diminished most by being in a strip club. The man who goes in, who pays, inordinate sums of money, 20 quid to get in, massive on drinks and on dances. Are they diminished, debased more than the woman who is, and I realise this is not true of every case, so there are differences in approach here, but for argument's sake, the woman who is choosing to make money by taking her clothes off for men who are too stupid not to realise that it's ridiculous, but who will pay through the nose anyway. Who is diminished more in that relationship? Because at Bristol, their city council is voting on proposals to ban and close lap dancing and strip clubs in the city. The leader of the ruling Labour group said evidence suggested that such venues were linked to violence against women. Margaret Hickman says we cannot ignore the fact that casual street harassment of women and domestic homicide are the biggest social issues that Bristol has to deal with. Councils have had the power to limit the number of sexual entertainment venues in their area since 2010. But only 7 in the country and 9 London boroughs have banned them outright. Officials in Bristol said they could not find evidence from the authorities that operate bans that the sex industry had been driven underground. One expert in gender equality in Bristol said, "The offer in our city right now is that from the age of 18 as a young man, you can go downtown and pay for a woman to strip for you. It is hampering and undoing the council's own efforts to advance equality between men and women." There's plans to ban lap dancing clubs in Scotland were abandoned after ministers were unable to link them to criminality or disorder. Cabinet documents released by the National Records of Scotland show that Labour faced growing pressure to outlaw the venues. Instead, tighter restrictions were introduced. 03456060973 in order to change men's attitudes towards women, towards the objectification of women, to the power dynamics that exist, we should remove the offer that exists to everyone over the age of 18, young men in particular, that they can go somewhere in the town in which they live and pay for a woman to strip for them. 0345 6060 Do you believe that strip clubs are part of the fomenting of the attitude that exists that leads to sexual harassment of women in this country? That were they to be banished, that attitude wouldn't disappear, that would be unfair, but would certainly be reduced. It would be easier to change men's approach to women if we got rid of strip clubs. 0345 6060 Again, jump to the top of the queue if you are a stripper, you have been a stripper, you've worked in one of these places, or you're a regular in one of these places. If you want, we can anonymise you. Either way, it's fine. Do you think that it has a demonstrable impact on your attitude towards women, or as a woman that has worked in them, you think that the men that turn up there are sleazebags, are abusers, and they are getting their kicks not from the titillation that comes from going to a place like this, but from the power dynamic? They like being able to pay for you to do what they want. But of course, there are, you can't get what you, anyway. 0345 6060 973. Dr. Sasha Rakoff is the chief executive of Not Buying It, a campaign challenging sex work and pornography because of the harm it says they cause to women. Very good morning to you.
Good morning. Hi.
Hi. Do you think that strip clubs demean women?
Yes, but I think they do a lot more than that. I think the problem is much worse than that. Apart from the fact that there's huge amounts of issues, incidences from GBH, there's been near-fatal stabbings, rapes in strip clubs, often by management and in their vicinity. It's the attitudes, really, that they breed and feed, not just in the men who go, but in wider society, what it says about women. And that is something that so has to be looked at now in light of Sarah Everard and the thousands of other women over years and years who have been killed, let alone every single woman who was harassed, including schoolgirls, when they walked down the street.
What is the evidence, then, that men who go to strip clubs once, twice, regularly display aggression towards women?
I think we need to get away from thinking, there's some kind of direct link. So a man walks into a strip club, he walks out and rapes a woman, because no one's saying that. What we're talking about is other underlying attitudes that the industry perpetuates in the men who go and in wider society.
But, so let me ask the question another way then. What are the attitudes of a man who goes to a strip club once, twice, regularly? What are the attitudes that they come out with?
Well, what strip clubs tell you is that you have absolute sexual entitlement over women, that women they're not human beings, they're objects, they're things. So we use the word objectification a lot, but what that means is you are an object, you're not a human being with rights. You're something that can be bought, used, disposed of, thrown away when you're finished with. So these are the kind of misogynistic attitudes that ultimately lead to men thinking it's perfectly fine to harass a woman down the street. She's an object, she's a thing. I have rights over her. That it's okay to start groping. It's okay to sexually assault somebody. Maybe even to kill somebody. It's the underlying attitudes that this promotes in men, whether they go or even if they don't. Simply the fact that we have places in every high street that say, come in, you can buy women here.
I have to say, we're now in this space of thinking that even the very existence of a strip club will lead men to believe that they can pay for, dispose of women at any given moment.
Well, yes.
There's no evidence for that, though.
Well, there's plenty of evidence. I mean, the Women's Equality Commission, the Women's National Commission, our government has actually signed up to legally binding treaties to end harmful cultural practices, which include things like abusive pornography, the sex industry, including lap dancing. You'd only have to look at some of the comments that punters make to get an idea of the kind of attitudes that these places breed and feed. Like, it's like buying a piece of meat. Men need somewhere they can go to act like they want. It's great to have that kind of power and control. And that's another issue as well. It's giving men that sense of dominance because they have absolute control over those lap dances.
I have to say, I've been to strip clubs on stag do's and things, and the attitude that I've been left with is, this is incredibly demeaning for me. This is, imagine going and spending money doing this, being, it's a slightly embarrassing thing with your friends, and there's a lady there, and there's absolutely, there are women who, if they are choosing to do this, and, there is a separate category for the women who don't choose to do this and for whatever reason are forced to do it. That's a whole different kettle of fish that shouldn't be happening. But women who choose to earn money by taking their clothes off in front of paying men, and possibly even women too, if women go to strip clubs as well, why are we denying them that choice?
Well, firstly, I think you're right. It's actually very damaging to men as well, in that it actually intrinsically harms men, not that they then might go out and be harmful towards women. Another punter was recently interviewed and talked about how he'd become addicted to strip clubs. He was going there for the company. It was really sad to hear, because that's fake as well. You can't buy friendship. Yeah. You can't buy desire either. Yeah, that's a. But on this issue though of women's choices, we are limited by getting us, completely closing strip clubs. You are removing a choice that women could make about how they want to earn their money. Well, there's two issues there. I mean, first, the idea of choice. You know, we kind of groom our little girls from the day they're born to be obsessed with their appearance, so it's almost a part of their identity and who they are. And from a very young age, we groom them to see that a big part of their identity and their worth as a human being is how sexually attractive they are to men. So just think what sort of age little girls start twerking to Miley Cyrus, say. So, of course, by the time they're 11, 12, 13, they want to be lap dancers. So is that
Rubbish.
a real choice?
Sorry, I've got to say, Doctor, I've got a 4-year-old daughter. There is no sense in which she is being brought up to want to be a lap dancer or work in a strip club.
Well, maybe not at this age, but even at this age, I'm sure you're noticing she's very concerned about her appearance, and that will just get worse and worse and worse as she gets older. And it doesn't matter how great the parents are. I'm sure you're a fantastic dad. She's exposed to so much, peers, the media, a wider society. You can't protect your girl.
I agree. I agree that there is an exposure to that. But how do strip clubs fit into that picture?
Well, it's pretty mainstream exposure when they're on every high street and licensed like they're a McDonald's or a supermarket, that they're that acceptable.
I don't think they are. They are as numerate as McDonald's.
No, maybe not. But they're there like a totally normal piece of the landscape, like it's a piece of furniture, like it's perfectly acceptable to have them there.
Why do women choose to do it then?
Well, like I said, I think women, especially now, they're socially groomed to aspire to be lap dancers or go into things like sugaring and webcamming because it's always part of their identity. It's constantly promoted as really empowering, fun, glamorous. You make lots of money. And there's no informed choice. When do women ever hear the negatives about this? Because you have the media constantly presenting it at every opportunity, the entire sex industry, as something that's fantastic, it's fun, it's totally harmless. So I don't think there's any genuine free choice. There's certainly no informed choice.
That women who work in strip clubs or as escorts or in that sort of industry have been, groomed to be there, socially groomed to be there?
I think we're all socially groomed to an extent, but as you go into actually working in these industries, you find that a large proportion of the women, especially when you get further down into the sex industry, have had prior abuse or have prior vulnerabilities. So even with lap dancing, there's a much higher incidence of women in lap dancing who've experienced domestic violence, say. And obviously that's going to affect your choices and your self-worth. A lot of women work in clubs. The money goes straight to their boyfriend. So I'm not saying that's happening in the Bristol clubs, but this is the wider picture. And the deeper into the sex industry you go, the more these pre-existing or ongoing vulnerabilities exist. So again, where's the choice?
I just come back to the idea that by closing these down because of a moral panic about what it says about the women involved or the men who go, it is, some people will see as hysterical.
Okay, but it's not a moral panic. Across the country, there's huge numbers of clubs, so there have been huge numbers of incidences.
Well, that's terrible. That should not be allowed to happen. If there's a club if there is a club where women are being abused, or one sign of abuse or whatever it is, that of course has to be investigated. Nobody is saying that it shouldn't be.
Oh, great, yes. But typically what you find in councils is it's investigated and they let it continue to open. They add another camera, which isn't going to make any difference. But the issue is it isn't just about whether there's abuse happening in the club, it's about the messages that it sends out. And it's, again, even if women have chosen it, I think it's a free, fully informed choice. The fact is it's still harmful. Women often say, I choose to objectify myself, so that's great, it's my choice. But actually, choosing to objectify yourself, being objectified, is harmful. Choosing to be bought for a man, to have to sexually display, basically, for a man you have no desire for, it's for money. Choosing to sit with a man for hours on end, talking with him, massaging his ego, giving him the girlfriend experience, which is what lap dancers have to do a lot of the time, that is inherently harmful. You cannot prevent that. It is psychologically harmful to the women and to the men in the club. So no matter how well run a club is, it is harmful. And as for women being put out of work, well, these venues are still going to be there. They're just going to be repurposed as cafes, bars, clubs, restaurants. The same women can be employed there. They'll actually have employed far more rights, probably be making more money, because when you work as a lap dancer, you have to pay to work. So you're in debt before you even set foot into the club. You have no employment rights. None of them have been entitled to furlough, for instance. If they'd been working at a bar or restaurant, they would be getting furlough all this time. So I think it's a bit of a false argument to say you close a strip club, all these people are out of work. A great many of them can go back to work in the new venue in a safe way and with proper employment rights.
Well, I guess that's possibly what they're hoping to do in Bristol if this goes ahead. Doctor, very, very good to speak to you. Really appreciate it. Dr. Sasha Rakoff, Chief Executive of Not Buying It, a campaign challenging sex work and pornography because of the harm it says they cause to women. And as you heard, not just the harm to women, the harm to men too. Even if you haven't even been in a strip club in your life, you wouldn't dream of it. Is the very existence of a strip club hurting psychologically men and women, damaging the relationship between men and women? Because in theory, one could go to a strip club and pay a consenting adult woman to remove her clothes. 0345 6060 973. Your calls after this, 12:19.
This is LBC. For 75 years, we have stood alongside those struggling with poverty and injustice, helping refugees after the war, working with Martin Luther King Jr., fighting hunger in Africa. But now we're facing our biggest challenges yet, COVID and climate change. So once again, we stand together, empowering every person to be their own change. Search Christian Aid, I Am Change, and be the change the world needs.
I need to feel the power.
Yeah, I only use it for emails.
I need a laptop with oomph.
Gaming, movie making, not for me.
I need this in my life.
There's someone on eBay who needs this.
Only 274 quid. Pfft, no brainer.
Gosh, I got way more than I thought.
I bought it. Sweet.
I sold it. Marvellous.
Sell on eBay to make extra money. Buy, sell, eBay.
Have you been injured in a road traffic accident, at work, or an accident anywhere? It's your right to claim. You could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation. Harris Fowler are specialist personal injury solicitors, winning over 93% of cases. No win, no fee, no risk. Call 0800 213 214 to see if you have a claim. You've got nothing to lose, and perhaps a lot to gain. Harris Fowler, the personal injury solicitors. Win rate based on cases issued and finished between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2019.
John's laid-back Easter lamb.
To stop the days rolling into one, I tried something fancy this Easter. Middle Eastern lamb. First I toast the spices to release the aromas. Then add them with some Tesco Baharat to the paste. Once the meat caramelises, it just falls off the bone. And because I do it all the night before, we get our Sunday morning in bed.
Whatever you're cooking this Easter, Tesco has everything you need to help you celebrate. Food Love Stories, brought to you by Tesco.
This is Network Rail with some important news if you're travelling over the Easter and early May bank holidays. While most of the rail network will be open, some services will be affected as we work to deliver improvements across the railway. The affected days are Friday the 2nd until Monday the 5th of April, and Saturday the 1st until Monday the 3rd of May. To keep your plans on track, make sure you check before you travel at nationalrail.co.uk/Easter.
This is LBC with Tom Swarbrick. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
At the moment, I've got a lot of men ringing in to defend strip clubs, which, you know. So let's start with Anna in Shepherd's Bush. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Tom.
Hi. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm a former stripper, and I've myself never had an issue with seedy men. I mean, to be completely honest, the attitude that I've been left with is that it's actually more, demeaning for men rather than it is for women. And I don't mean that in any offensive way to the punters, but that's the way I've always seen it myself when I was previously working in that field.
Why do you see it as more demeaning of men? I'm not going to, no one take offence. But by the way, I think you're right. It's just interesting to see how you, as the person who was, as the former stripper, why you would think it would be more demeaning of men than women.
Often I would feel that sometimes it would be the men that would be embarrassed to have to kind of pay to get that attention. And for me personally, it was empowering. You know, we were making money, we were feeling good about ourselves. we were, with our friends, because the girls, we really connected and bonded with each other, and it was a really freeing experience. And I knew exactly what I was doing. I was doing it for financial freedom. I did it for, a period of time to pay my way through law school. As soon as I'd paid my way through, I stopped. So it's, it's a career for some, but, for me, it was a temporary stopgap. For some women, it's a career. And by closing strip clubs, they're potentially removing a livelihood for some of these girls. So it's, I think it can have a really devastating impact on some people.
Can I ask you how much money you made, roughly, from doing it? Or on average, per night, how much would you be able to make?
On a good night, you could make about £1,200.
£1,200?
Yeah. On a good night in London. Like in London.
Wow, that's
a central
lot
London
of money.
bar. Yeah.
And were you ever put in a position, Anna, that you felt out of control?
No, because unless you were, doing drink and drugs, which I didn't do and a lot of people don't do. I think that's the misconception. You don't put yourself in those positions. So unless you're, silly, you're not put in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
You're very much protected. The girls are pretty safe, actually.
Do you remember what you were thinking as you went in for your first shift? Because I bet that's a bit of a facer.
Yeah, I mean, I was so nervous. I did not eat all day. So I was so nervous about my, what I looked like. I didn't know what the experience would be like, but actually, everything just melted away, and everyone was really friendly. There was so much security in place. There was so much red tape, if that makes sense. I thought it would be really laid back, but it wasn't. They were really, really strict. So many rules, so many regulations, and I actually had no idea the amount of planning and rules that we, as the girls, we had to adhere to.
Really?
To make sure that we were all safe, yeah.
So, like, what kind of thing? Allow us to peek behind the curtain, so to speak, Anna.
Obviously, you're not allowed to get too close to the punters. Don't tell them your name. Don't give them your numbers. They're not allowed to, touch you, that kind of thing. Just basically keep everyone at arm's length for your safety, for their safety, so they don't get too attached. It's just little things like that, just to make things that you wouldn't even think of, to keep you safe.
Well, listen, I'm so grateful you rang, because it's the thing I was slightly concerned about was that there would be an awful lot of men ringing in to in a slightly odd way defend strip clubs. But it's fantastic to hear from you, because to me it seems like you're defending the choice.
100%. I think it is a choice. You can go into it with your eyes wide open. I totally disagree with the previous caller. I think that a lot of the people, the majority, go in knowing exactly what they're doing. They can make a really big business out of it.
Oh, have we lost Anna? Oh, we've lost Anna. Damn it. Great call, and a fantastic call. Thank you so much. Suzanne's in Twickenham. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. It was a great call. I was listening.
Oh, good. Your thoughts?
My thoughts, I kind of agreed with what Anna said. I was a manager for 6 years of a club in Twickenham called The Piano.
Oh.
And as she said, the girls were very, very protected. There were lots of rules they had to abide by. A 3-foot rule, they weren't allowed to get any closer than 3 foot. They weren't allowed to sit down next to the man without the clothes on. And it was a really, really safe environment. We had security at the front door, back door, in the middle, on the dance floor, and where the girls dance up on a balcony. So they were well taken care of. We made sure they went home by cab. We had a set of cab drivers that we would trust to take them home, because they lived all over London. And it was a safe environment. And I actually don't think anyone gets demeaned. The guys might get made a fool of for a few times because they spend a lot of money in there, but I don't think it's demeaning. I think it's all done in a bit of light-hearted fun. I mean, the girls would be dancing with...
I mean, Suzanne, is it? I mean, it's not healthy, is it?
Well, I don't see that why isn't it healthy?
Well, if a guy were to go in regularly, like...
Right.
I don't know, define regularly, but, multiple times a month,
Right.
to the same. Would that raise flags to think, hang on, something weird's happening here?
No, because you know what? As a manager, and we had other guys in there on the door, the guys that came in regular then became. It's like she said. There's a camaraderie between the girls and the staff, and it's a close little knit thing in there. And the regulars would come in, and then you get to know them, and they're like, "Hi, how you doing? Sit down." Sometimes they'd come in and not have dances, just sit down and have a drink. They wouldn't always come in and have a dance, or they pass by, come from the races, and they stop by on their way home, and they became friends with the girls as well. A lot of the girls became quite friendly with the guys.
Sleazy, though, isn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think it's...
You're more forgiving than
maybe I'm forgiving. And I have daughters. My daughter was 16, and the doctor that was at the beginning said when your daughters are 11, they aspire to be dancers and whatever. My worry was that we were right next to a pizza takeaway, and my daughter used to come home with her friends and pass by and say, "Mummy, can I have the keys?" and her boyfriend would drive her home. I would have been more worried about the girls standing outside of the pizza place drunk, falling all over the place, than I would have her coming into the club and seeing girls dancing in a secure environment that had made a choice to go out and make money as opposed to go out and get drunk and be all over the place.
If your daughter said, "Mum, I'm of appropriate age, I'm choosing to do this, I'm going to go and be a stripper," how would you feel?
I would talk to her about it and just say, I wouldn't want her to, but if she did, that would be her choice.
And that's
and
the
seeing
point,
that some of the girls had come, one was a professor at a college, and most of them were putting themselves through law school. If there were girls that were a bit, and I'm not going to say none of the girls did drugs, because a couple did, and when we knew, they were fired. So there were some girls that were there to do for other reasons. But I don't know if I would stop her. I would tell her, okay, if that's what you want to do. I mean, she's 35 now.
And do you think, Suzanne, that strip clubs, going into a strip club, or the very existence of a strip club, contributes to misogyny?
No.
You don't think it's objectifying of women by men? Here, you dance for me. Here's some money, dance for me. Take your clothes off, dance for me. Here's some money. No?
No, and because I think the girls, because they've made a choice, it's what they feel, it's not what I feel. They've made a choice. Sometimes girls would be dancing with a guy, turn around and face me and say, "Do you know what day I'm working next week?" And I'd be like, "Just get on with your dance." They'd have a conversation with me. They were completely in control of what they were doing.
Okay, Suzanne, it's really interesting. Again, thank you so much. It's great. There you go. The call goes out. Can we speak to someone who's been a stripper and someone who's run a strip club? Bang, first two calls. Love doing this show. 0345 6060 973 is the number. Here's Claire. Tom, would you be happy if your daughter chose to work as a stripper when she's older? Claire, 100% no. Absolutely, definitely not. I would be... it's not even worth thinking about. It would be horrific. But it's her choice. Come back to your calls in a few moments. Tom Swarbrick here, 12:31 News Headlines. Lucinda Horsley.
A fund which provides things like better lighting and CCTV is being doubled to £45 million following the murder of Sarah Everard. The Criminal Justice Task Force has met in Downing Street. Ministers say they want to take immediate steps to reassure women and girls. A number of European countries have suspended their use of the Oxford AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine over concerns about blood clots, but the developer insists there's no evidence of any increased risk. Portugal's being removed from the travel ban red list. It means those coming from there will be able to quarantine at home rather than in a hotel. LBC Weather, patchy rain and low cloud across most parts of the UK. Clearer skies reaching the far northwest overnight, a low of 5 degrees.
This is LBC. For 75 years, we have stood alongside those struggling with poverty and injustice, helping refugees after the war, working with Martin Luther King Jr., fighting hunger in Africa. But now we're facing our biggest challenges yet, COVID and climate change. So once again, we stand together, empowering every person to be their own change. Search Christian Aid, I Am Change, and be the change the world needs.
At Vodafone, We understand the power of connections, like those children make in their brains every day. Every time a child learns something new, a new connection is made. But to make those connections, children need to be connected. That's why we're donating thousands of 4G dongles and asking you to donate unwanted smartphones and tablets. Search Vodafone Tech Appeal today and help a child connect and learn. Vodafone. Keep connecting. For info and terms, visit vodafone.co.uk/techappeal.
Hello, Specsavers here. We know being able to see and hear keeps you connected to your world and the people you love, especially during lockdown. And eye tests can help detect a range of underlying health conditions too. So we're letting you know our stores remain open, with current guidance allowing you to leave your home for eye and hearing tests. We have all the necessary measures in place to keep you and our colleagues safe, in line with government and NHS advice. We're open to care for you. Find out more at specsavers.co.uk.
John's laid-back Easter lamb.
To stop the days rolling into one, I tried something fancy this Easter. Middle Eastern lamb. First I toast the spices to release the aromas. Then add them with some Tesco Baharat to the paste. Once the meat caramelises, it just falls off the bone. And because I do it all the night before, we get our Sunday morning in bed.
Whatever you're cooking this Easter, Tesco has everything you need to help you celebrate. Food Love Stories, brought to you by Tesco.
Birthday, cashback, takeaway, cashback, coffee shop, laptop, garden shears, online beers, date night, cashback, chocolate eggs, cashback, hair care, cashback, weekend away, one day, cashback, supermarket, new carpet, walk in the woods, coats with hoods. Guess what? Cashback. We can't be sure what this year will bring, but you can be sure to earn cashback on whatever you buy. Only with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. No annual fee. Representative 22.2% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC. Text 84850.
Here's Anthony. Tom, I've been to a few strip clubs on the old stag do's. I find it really embarrassing. I would sit round the other side of the bar from where the girls would dance, but you couldn't hide. Soon enough, they'd be over, but it's only about pounds that they're after. It's their choice, and I bet they've got a family to feed, says Anthony. Ken's in Westminster. Hiya, Ken.
Good evening, Thomas.
Hello, sir.
How are you tonight?
I'm very well. How are you? Long time no speak.
Saved by the grace of God.
Well, thank goodness.
Yes, thank God. Not thank goodness. Thank God, Tom, because at one time, I remember, I'm a Christian now for 40 years by the grace of God, but 42 years ago, I used to work in a big steel company in Canada called Stelco in Hamilton.
Right.
And I used to work in the afternoon shifts, 8 till 11, and after we come out at 11 o'clock at night, I would drop in for a few beers in a strip club just outside of Hamilton. And I remember how I used to feel...
Sorry, Ken, can I just... Sorry.
Go on.
You have taken me back, sir. I did not expect your good self to be a strip club frequenter. How often would you go?
I used to go, and I would guess about maybe twice a month, maybe 3 times a month at the most, I would guess, Tom.
Not far off once a week?
Not far off once a week, yes, but I used to get in for a couple of beers, mostly for the beer one and not for the strip club. I went in the strip club for it. But
no other place you could get a beer, Ken, at that time?
At that time of night, yes. In Hamilton, yes. It was on the way home from where I lived, so I just dropped in.
They served really good beer at that strip club in Hamilton. I get it.
But listen, when I went to these strip clubs, I wasn't a Christian at the time, but I felt so sorry for these young girls. You know, if you wanted to, you could invite the girl over to your table. I never did that.
No.
But some men, you could invite the girl over to the table. She'd come right to the table, and it was I felt it was degrading for the young girls. Most of them were quite young, and I felt sorry for them. But I wasn't a Christian, but I says...
But then you went back the next week, Ken. That's what...
That's it. I went back. I was a sinful man, yes, a sinful heart. See, the problem I had then, Tom, was my heart. The heart is deceitful above things and desperately wicked. So I was just acting out my thoughts. And in fact, you are what you think. What we think is who we really are, and only you know what you think.
Did you ever talk Did you ever talk to the women that you...
Yes, I remember talking to one girl, and I just, not in a sexual way, I just wanted to talk to her.
Family show, Ken, family show.
Pardon?
No.
No, but this is a serious subject, Tom. We're talking here about women being harassed and sexually abused and fall down. This is a very evil subject, and I'm very surprised at the amount of things which are happening today.
But Ken, you've just I don't know how much of the programme you've heard tonight, whether you've just tuned in, but you've heard from at least two women, one who's stripped and one who ran a strip club, saying this is the only people this really demeans and diminishes and debases are the men that go there.
I would agree with that too. Yes, it demeans a man. I used to feel bad after getting into it. It never made me feel good. But it's the matter again for a couple of beers. But watching women
every week, Ken. I mean, it's.
Every week, yes. It was disgusting what I did.
It's up to you. You were consenting adult. They were consenting adults. You paid to be there because you had to get in, and they were paid for being there because they had to, because that's how it works. And you were consenting adults. I wouldn't feel guilty about it, sir.
Well, I did even at the time, but anyway, I've repented of that and asked God to forgive me, and He's changed. Now, here's a thought, Tom. The biggest problem, or one of the biggest problems today, I believe, is the wholesale promotion of pornography. This is more dangerous than going to a nightclub for producing sex perverts.
Would you go to a strip club again now?
No. Unless they asked me to go and preach the gospel. If they invited me to go and preach the gospel, that would be different.
Now that's a TV show waiting to happen.
Now, here's a very serious thing, Tom, here, and I hope you're not offended by this. I'm not trying to offend anybody at all. But, in the summertime in this country, and in almost every Western country, women walk around half naked. Now, I want to present this thought to try and help. Do you know what, Ken? Do you know what? I've given you a really good go. You've had a good chance to speak your mind. You could have brought it up. With the greatest of respect, sir, I'm going to park that for another moment. Thank you very much indeed for your call. Now, that's a TV show. What would the title be? Ken's in the strip club preaching the gospel. I need a snappy title. Ashling's in Bromley. Aishling.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well. Your thoughts?
I think I know that, from listening to you for quite a while now, you're a very intelligent man, and I think you know
that's the opposite. That is the opposite that people should conclude. But thank you very much.
No, you are. I think you know, deep down that is, of course, contributes to the culture of misogyny that we're living in, and contributes to all of the stories that we've heard on the radio in the last week from the various people that have been brave enough to call in. I personally agree with what the doctor was saying, and I should probably say as well that I don't even know, I feel like my opinion on this is somewhat trivial because I'm quite a conservative kind of person myself. I'm maybe called quite prudish, but at the same time, I like to educate myself on things, even if they're a bit removed from my own direct life. And I just feel that strip clubs. The reason it's trivial as well is because it's not. I don't feel like it's really ultimately anything that's going to dissipate, because they're everywhere, just like adult content is everywhere. But it's not going to disappear. But it's good to have a conversation. And yes, in conclusion, it does, I think, contribute to the misogyny that we're experiencing, contribute to abuse, that contributes to everything else.
Because men either go in there or come out of there thinking, I can pay for services from a woman.
Yeah, and it also just contributes to how they see females.
Does it work the other way around? I mean, I know it's less, happens probably less frequently, but does a woman going to pay for the Chippendales or I'm sure other male strippers are available, I wouldn't know, but they go and pay for it, that contributes to misandry?
I don't think so, and I'm not even exactly sure why, but I think it relates back to, Freudian theories, but I think there's something different. It's just something evolutionary between male and female, that it's different with men. And I think things like strip club and adult content and all that kind of thing, it feeds into men's inability to maybe control that part of themselves, nearly. And as for the women...
But again, go on. As for the women, go on.
Yeah, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say...
I'll go to the women next.
the control is brought about by the protection in those places that are given to the women that work there. I mean, if you've been in there and someone has tried to get a bit too handsy, they are thrown out of there faster than lightning. I mean, that is the protection that the women who have called up tonight to who have worked there have talked about feeling empowered by.
Yeah, but that man who got a bit, I'm not even talking about the men who maybe get handsy in there, but men who are, you don't know what's going on inside their heads. And it's what's going on inside their heads that's worrying, because then they bring those heads outside and there's no controlled environment, and they've just been riled up, as it were, and they then, may execute that in some really unhealthy way, whether it's to women on the street by wolf whistling them, or by, doing a lot worse, or bringing it home to their wives.
Well, listen, Aisling, if that's the case, if there's a direct relationship between going into a strip club and having the attitudes that lead you to commit those crimes, then let's look at the evidence. Let's find the evidence for it. Let's study it and find the evidence for it and work out what to do. The evidence that was presented to politicians in Scotland was non-existent. They abandoned plans to ban strip clubs after ministers were unable to link them to criminality or disorder. So it's hard to establish a link, but on the face of it, you can see how you might be right. Thank you so much for the call. Peter's in Balham. Hi there, Peter.
Hello, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, sir. Your thoughts?
Interesting show. Interesting. Aisling was sort of projecting what men might think when they're sitting in a strip club, and the sort of deviant thoughts that they might get. I can tell you that my only thought is, where's the nearest cash point and how can I get more money? And that's, who's the sucker in that scenario? And the answer is, it's me normally, I feel.
Well, if it's partly because women who have been working there have described on the programme tonight, they've been protected by bouncers, they've got paying conditions that are supportive, they've got a camaraderie, a team ethic, they're working and they feel supported and they don't feel threatened in that environment, then I would agree with you.
From my perspective as a person who, I'm a professional man, relatively intelligent, and occasionally I will go to a strip club. I find them to be very regulated environments. You can't really step out of line because, as you said earlier, a rather large bouncer will come up and kick you out very, very quickly.
How often would you go?
Once a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that. But
how often is too often?
I think if you're going every bloody week or so, I shouldn't swear, every week or so, then probably that's a problem.
Even if you're going to say preach the gospel.
God bless Ken. But you know what I object to, Tom? I think what I object to is this, that you had your first caller who was a doctor, I think.
Yes.
Who was probably paid quite highly.
Don't know.
A professional woman. And what I object to is highly paid professional women deciding what other women who maybe can't make so much money can do with their lives.
Well, that to me is the issue of choice is absolutely paramount in this, Peter. I would agree with you. If choice has been removed for whatever reason from the equation and a woman is doing it against her will, that she doesn't want to or she doesn't feel safe, then there's an issue. Then you've got to check it. Then it's got to be, decisions made. But ultimately, I think I agree with you that consenting adults are able to choose what they want to do. And that's it's got to be regulated, it's got to be cared for, it's got to be looked after, but that's it, isn't it? You can think of them as you wish. You can think that they're seedy or disgusting or whatever, but you can think about that of people of any kind, at any stage if you wanted. Peter, thank you. 0345 6060 973. Dave in Hull. Tom, would you be happy to work as a stripper? I believe there are male strippers for $1,200 a night. Dave, I don't quite know what you're suggesting. I'd never be able to command that. It's 12:47.
Coming up at 1 on LBC, Darren Adam.
The Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill gives Priti Patel power to create laws that define what serious disruption is. Do you want your right to protest to be subject to the whims of government?
Darren Adam on LBC.
Co-op Car Insurance presents The Switch. Some switches are more difficult than others, like the switch from 49 to the big 50, compared to switching to Co-op car insurance, which now includes protection of your no-claims discount if involved in an accident with an uninsured driver. Plus, if you buy before June 30th, you'll get a £50 Co-op gift card. Search Co-op car insurance and make the switch. Underwritten by Zenith Insurance plc, uninsured driver promise on fully comprehensive policies only. Full T's and C's at coop.co.uk/insurance offer.
For the businesses who employ, innovate and create.
GovGrant's R&D tax relief expertise is so reassuring, and the results are fantastic.
For the thinkers, the risk takers, who make Britain great.
GovGrant really understood our company's activities and which ones qualified for the R&D tax relief scheme.
Whatever you do, maximise the value of your innovation in research and development. Visit govgrant.co.uk. That's govgrant.co.uk.
Knock at the door, cashback, same as before. Cashback delivery, cup of tea, Sunday roast, more post, binge watch, cashback, weekly shop, cashback, post office, cashback, computer games, wellies for rain, cashback, video calls, footballs, shopping online, bottle of wine. Guess what? Cashback. We can't be sure what this year will bring, but you can be sure to earn cashback on whatever you buy. Only with the American Express Platinum Cashback Everyday Credit Card. Search Amex Cashback. No annual fee. Representative 22.2% APR variable. Minimum annual spend to receive cashback. Terms apply. 18 plus subject to approval.
Mercedes-Benz may have to pay thousands of pounds to drivers after they allegedly installed defeat devices to pass vehicle emissions tests. Did you purchase or lease a Mercedes diesel vehicle made between 2009 and 2018? Then you could be entitled to thousands of pounds in compensation, even if you no longer own or lease the car. To find out if you qualify and join the claim, visit mercedesemissionsclaim.co.uk or text JOIN to 85222.
At the Cooperative Bank, we've always had an ethical approach to banking. Since 1992, we've been asking our customers about the issues that matter to them. That's why every business application is screened against our customer-led ethical policy, and why we won't open accounts for businesses involved in fossil fuel extraction, animal testing and environmental destruction. Ethical then, ethical now. We are the original ethical bank. The Cooperative Bank. For people with purpose. Join us.
At Vodafone, we understand the power of connections, like those children making their brains every day. Every time a child learns something new, a new connection is made. But to make those connections, children need to be connected. That's why we're donating thousands of 4G dongles and asking you to donate unwanted smartphones and tablets. Search Vodafone Tech Appeal today and help a child connect and learn. Vodafone. Keep connecting. For info and terms, visit vodafone.co.uk/techappeal.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Tom Swarbrick.
Here's Etty in Birmingham. Hi, Etty.
Hi. Yeah, sex worker here. And I'm a bit appalled by what I've heard by the London clubs. That may be true of the London clubs. And often it's the bouncers, the one who's pimping you.
Oh, God.
In my experience. I do it all, mate. I do webcam, I do lines, I do content, and I do dominatrix face-to-face work. And it's because of poverty. I do it for the money. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. Never has been a choice.
How long have you been doing it?
18 years.
18 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a career?
I wouldn't call it a career.
No.
And I've never felt so conflicted with the beautiful Sarah situation, right? Never felt so conflicted in my life. I haven't been able to work for 3 days. I feel like the world's naive, you know. There are men who, on every platform, married men, all sorts of men, that are deprived, right? And I sometimes tell myself that if I've satisfied them, that somehow I've stopped them from doing something, you know. I don't know if that's true. But the whole sex industry is geared up around men. The men who run it, the men who own it, the platforms. You're paid to work. You might not have a pimp per se, but to work on a platform, you pay a third of your wages, etc.
When you say work on a platform,
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, it's just how the gig economy.
No, but does that mean you're paying to go and dance at a strip club, or
no,
you're paying to
stripping years ago because you get pimped, it's too much. Like I say, I can't speak for the London clubs, but yeah, no, you pay to advertise your services, and you pay a third of your money to these platforms. So they are in effect your pimp.
And did you start at stripping and then go further into the industry that way over the
Yeah,
time
because
you
I was
had?
raped when I was stripping, yeah.
God. I'm sorry.
And then what happens is, like, you get, like, a mind thing. You validate. You see, what you get is a lot of people talking about the money. Make no mistake, we make money. But the cost to your mind, your body, your soul,
yeah,
your femininity, your self-respect is not worth the money. But you get in so deep, you get so many hangers-on in some situations, you have to completely isolate yourself in this industry, so it's just you and the punters. For most of the girls that work in this industry in a serious way, that is your life. And that, I can't listen to people who've gone to law school. You get out, love. You know, we're in it so deep. Once you've been on platforms, your content's out there, stuff like that. It's really difficult to go and get a mainstream job. So,
do you think that there is a difference between the law student to fund their studies
and the young single mum that I was being steered into it by all the men around me? Yeah,
Right.
big time. Yeah.
Because
I started off
have an end
working
point.
beyond the bar, and I was put under so much pressure to go further. Yeah. Yeah.
And the industry took more of a hold of you, Etty, because you couldn't let go of the money? Would that be fair?
No, it twists your mind. It's hard to explain. Like, once you've been abused, you sort of you think it's empowering you because you've got money, and it's not. It's dismantling you slowly but surely, which is why there is such a massive amount of drug use. These women who say, you know, they're bonded in the dressing room and all that, you bond over drugs. Simple as. I'm just sick of people lying about it and going on about female empowerment. Female empowerment was what you see up Clapham Common. What I do is disgraceful. And trust me, if I could, and I will one day, I'll go to another country and I'll just hopefully have enough to set myself up in some little juice bar and be normal. But I can't have these rich women or women who just manage places talking like they're me or girls like me. We are in this industry and we don't feel we can do anything normalised. And the hours you keep and stuff as well, you become sort of like you're not, you know, part of mainstream society, are you? You can't even talk about your job, because if you do, you get really, especially, you know, normal people, a lot of men, you know, they're one thing to you, but when you see them on the road and that, it's different. They're with their wives and that. They put on this facade, and that's what we all know in this industry, and that's why we're so terrified of what's happening now, because we're having to face up to it. The attacks. You get attacked all the time when you do face-to-face work. It's constantly threatening. So I don't want people coming on here and thinking that some women may go to law school and get out, but the majority of us do not.
The picture you paint of it sounds absolutely horrific. Horrific.
At times it is. It's not always like that, you know. I see some lovely fellas, you know, and lonely men, disabled men who have rather extreme fetishes. Like, it's not, like, I'm not having a go at the men, but I certainly don't want people thinking that just because you earn loads of money, it's some sort of female empowerment, because after a while, that just becomes the necessary thing that you have to do.
So would you, Etty, would you ban strip clubs then?
Nah, you can't. You see, this is the thing. You see, when you work in these industries, you know how integrated in some men's lives it actually is, and if you drive it underground, it will be more unsafe. Yeah,
well,
I'd like to say,
go on, Etty,
if we really want to stop attacks and harassment on women, we need to change the prostitution laws so that women can work safely together and get them off the streets. For God's sake, get these girls off the streets, because if you look at the tolerance zone in Leeds, it's spread out so much now. If you live in these areas, it's terrifying. And even if you go to the centre of Leeds, you get accosted all the time. So, like, we need to be able to, like, regulate it. But this idea that there's never any pimps, even in Amsterdam there's pimps. I've worked in Amsterdam, there's pimps. Everywhere there, you know, even when it's legal, there's pimps. Like, this is the lie and the trafficking, especially with the Eastern Bloc girls and the Chinese girls, the Thai girls. Let's, you know, I live in a very affluent area, and people are getting away with this brothel keeping.
Listen, Etty, I'm so glad you rang in. I wish we could have had more time, because it's absolutely fascinating, if not a little bit terrifying, hearing from you. But we've run out of time, so I do apologise. But please keep yourself safe, and you make some